The Cavs have shocked the entire NBA world by being the single most dominant team in the NBA this season.
So the question everyone's asking is, are they more 2015 Hawks or 2016 Warriors?
Jack, what does a super team mean to you? How do you define a super team in the modern NBA?
I don't know. I've always liked the phrase super team. It feels like very case by case basis for me. You kind of know it when you see it. And so, it's mostly based on talent, but historically a lot of people have also associated it with like mercenary pilled superstars who are willing to like abandon the franchise that drafted them in pursuit of more success.
I think typically when people say super team, they think about it like, you have 3 stars, 3 or more, and your team is really good. They all fit together. So the question I have for you is, are the Cleveland Cavaliers a super team? They're on pace for 70 wins. They have about to be 4 players that have made an all-star in the past and might make it this year once Evan Mobley makes it. Are we witnessing the birth of a new super team right in front of our eyes?
I hesitate to call the Cavs a super team, but I do feel like that feeling inside of me is strictly based on like the homegrown style of the way they put this roster together. If someone wants to take a look at this roster and be like, they are a super team because they have all of these all-stars and they have all of this talent, that's fine. I just feel like it's a very vibes-based thing.
Yeah, I'm being facetious. I don't really give a shit about the title of super team. I was mostly joking because after last season when the Celtics won, nobody talked about it beforehand, but as soon as they won, it was relitigated. Is this a super team? Honestly, that discourse only starts if you win a championship.
Yes.
But the point of this video today, the point I want to talk about and what we're really going to dissect today is the Cleveland Cavaliers are the most dominant team in the East in a year where the Celtics still exist in that conference.
Yeah.
The Cavs have eclipsed them as the dominant superpower that I want to talk about. Are they the favorites to win the conference? Should they be the favorites to win the entire championship? More importantly, how did they get this good? Why weren't they this good last year? We got to do a full deep dive into this team because it is probably the best storyline of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot to break down. And it's interesting because when a team jumps out to being as dominant as the Cavs have been this year, I feel like a lot of people have a tendency to just look at all the wins and be like, damn, like it kind of, especially with the Celtics last year, there's been an established precedent that like a team gets so good that it becomes boring, that we kind of take it for granted. And that has been like one of the vibes I've gotten from how people are reacting to this dominant Cavs start. But when you take a step back and you look at where they were at last year, the peaks and valleys of the last like 2 or 3 seasons in Cleveland and how we arrived at this point, it is a really interesting turnaround.
Yeah. And you mentioned this team has been so dominant and we've gotten used to it. Let's talk about how dominant they've been. They are currently 34-5. Let's let that sink in. Before I say any other numbers, before I say a single other factoid digit, anything. 34-5 is an utterly ridiculous start. It was like 15 wins ago where we were like, okay,
they're pretty good.
This team seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty solid team. And they just kept on going, kept on winning. There was a popular game a couple weeks ago now where they played the Thunder. They were both coming off of over 10-game win streaks. It was a heavily marketed game. They won. They're actually playing again tonight. So by the time this comes out, you'll know what happens in that rematch. They might win again. We'll see. But either way, 34-5, the number 1 offense in the NBA, the number 10 defense in the NBA, and the second net rating behind the Thunder, who are also dominant, which maybe they get a video later. But this is top of the league dominant, utterly ridiculous play right now.
Yeah. I think it's Pat Riley who has the quote where it's like a true contender hits 40 wins before they hit 20 losses or something like that. It might be Phil Jackson. Yeah. I can't remember who said it exactly. But I mean, shit, the Cavs look like they're going to hit 40 wins before they hit 10 losses. And so like if we're following that rule, like there's not that many teams in history who have gotten out to a better start than Cleveland has this season.
And I'll tell you how many there are exactly.
Oh, right shit. Now, wow.
I got the slide prepped. Right now, if you look at the best winning percentages in NBA history, you have obviously number 1, the 2016 Warriors, who won 72 games at 89% of their wins. Number 2, you got the 96 Bulls, who won 71 games, 87.8% of their games they won. The Cavs are 3rd right now at 87.2% of their games won. So the question isn't, is this the best team in the NBA right now? Is this one of the best teams? Is it a contender? Can they win? Yada, yada. It's Is this team going to win 70 games? Are they on pace to have one of the best regular seasons we've ever seen in NBA history? These are the convos they're currently placing themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty insane. And I think, I don't know, like there's a hesitancy here to bring them up in conversations like even the 2016 Warriors who didn't win the title, much less like the Bulls teams that were a dynasty or whatever. But strictly when you look at like on-court regular season play and how talented a team is at like consistently cranking out wins, not getting tired on the second night of back-to-backs, just constantly fielding very talented lineups and finding different ways to win games. The Cavs go bar for bar with pretty much every other like really dominant regular season team we've seen over the past like decade. I mean, the numbers bear it out in history. I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, I think a lot of people maybe hesitate to bring them up in those conversations because we are waiting to see the established like postseason
what does it look like in the playoffs? That's what it comes down to. But okay, so the point today is to talk about why this team is so good right now. And I think to do that, we have to look at who this team was last season, because the biggest part of this story is that it's a complete and total surprise.
Yes.
You could have been the highest on the Cavs possible. But after last year, there's no way in hell you even believed they were going to be the best team in the East, let alone on a historic winning percentage. The vibes were at an all-time low last year. So what went wrong last season? Why did you and everybody else in the world not fully believe in this core?
So one like weird thing that happened with the Cavs last year, and I broke this down into a number of different segments, is that they found their most consistent path to winning games when Darius Garland and Evan Mobley were out of the lineup. When it was Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, and a lot of like defense, 3-and-D type players, guys who could either shoot, play defense, or do both. They had an insane record. They were like, that looked like a franchise that was on pace to win 60, 70 games, whatever you want to call it. And then they injected Mobley and Garland back into the lineup. And for a number of different reasons, they really staggered. They took a step back. I think the first and foremost thing you have to talk about there is health. And I'm sure you wrote this down as well. Darius Garland breaks his jaw, loses 15 pounds in the middle of the year last season. That
not great. Not like that doesn't sound like a good time.
Yeah, I mean that would suck for me on the couch. And so to be an undersized point guard who your team is like really relying on to create, and now not only are you undersized, you're like malnourished on the court while you're going
exactly. Health is the one thing you got to pinpoint that starts it. They had an unlucky season, and whereas this year they have perfect health and they're rather lucky. The coin flipped the other way. Garland misses 15 games and loses 15 pounds. Or actually, he missed 25 games overall for the whole season. But that first stretch, he missed 15. To lose that much weight really ruined him for the whole season. And you mentioned that they had their best point without him when the two-man game was Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen. The other side of that, besides the fact that you're missing Garland, who's not playing well because he's malnourished, you didn't have their biggest problem in that stretch. Their two big lineups last year were not particularly good, whereas this year they're dominant. If you look at the numbers last year, whenever they played both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together, they had a 112.8 offensive rating and a 112.5 defensive rating. That's just 0.3 as a net rating.
Yeah.
That is not good. Their half-court offense was 96.4 offensive rating. They could not figure out how to make that spacing work. That's why all last year, the talking point was, obviously Garland's not playing good, we're worried. But can this team play two bigs and have it be successful in the modern NBA, especially two bigs who aren't good shooters at the moment?
Yeah.
That was a seemingly insurmountable obstacle that they just could not get over. It bared itself out in the playoffs. That fucking rock fight playoff series they had against the Magic was gross offense versus gross offense because both teams had absolutely atrocious spacing. And I think the two big lineup was kind of the main reason for that.
Yeah, and when you talk about all those stats and everything, I think that like really did just bear itself out in the eye test when you watched as well. And especially when like they did not share the floor with each other. It's less that like the minutes they were on the floor with each other were so bad that they couldn't survive them. It was more that like the second Mobley sprained his ankle, missed like 19 straight games or something, or even just like when one sat and the other was on the floor, you got to see how talented the other one was at just like really traditional big man shit in terms of like setting screens, rolling to the rim, and being like a really elite rim defense guy. Jared Allen has thrived at that this season, whereas Evan Mobley, maybe they've changed some things. We can get to that in a little bit, but yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there a little bit.
Yeah, but looking back, it's just not the way to maximize both of their talents. Is to like have one guy in a very traditional like pick and roll setting and have the other guy waiting to finish a play. That's what I felt like I saw a lot last year, was either Allen is waiting in the dunker's spot for Mobley to like find him on a short roll, which is fine, or Mobley is waiting in the mid range or out on like the 3-point line to catch the kick out.
It wasn't a dynamic use of their talents. They weren't complementary. It was just a lot of taking turns. And, the bigs were taking turns being relevant. And the guards were taking turns. They didn't do a good job of playing off of each other. Part of that is because Garland was going through the health issues that made him worse in pretty much every facet. He couldn't finish to the rim like he once was. It was just really a struggle for him. So that led to Donovan Mitchell having to carry a huge offensive load. The offense became very one-dimensional because they smelled blood in the water. And D. Mitch said, fuck it, I guess I got to cook. Let me go out and be all NBA because I got to get buckets. It was just a bad synergy in the front court and bad synergy in the back court. Nothing worked. And you know who didn't make that work very well? The coach at the time, who had since been fired. And you mentioned all these bad vibes. That was another part of it. They seemingly lost a locker room throughout all this and led to a coaching change in which they hired Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah. And Bickerstaff isn't a bad coach by any means. I just think the way that Atkinson has made a couple like pretty key changes in terms of like their approach on offense that has unlocked the talent of everybody. Because that was my real big takeaway last year, especially when the Cavs were so dominant without Garland and Mobley in the lineup. I consistently said, this doesn't feel like a team that is bringing back a defensive player of the year level guy, level big man, and a guard who has already been an all-star. It doesn't feel like they're about to add those guys. Oh my God. Hey, a cat.
We got a cat appearance. Keep
going. It doesn't feel like they're about to add those guys back into the lineup. And when their all-star level guys got back, they've regressed seriously. And so I feel like Atkinson has made a few changes that have just like let the team play at the talent level that they clearly have.
Yeah. It wasn't that Bickerstaff was horrible. It's just that he wasn't equipped to solve this one specific issue that was really hard to solve. They needed somebody else to come in and give it a try because it just wasn't working out with whatever he decided was the solve, right? And also he was dealt a bad hand with all the injuries we talked about.
Yeah.
So let's move on to this next season. We're currently here in 2024, 2025, and the team is as dominant as we talked about. So what changed? Well, in short, everything I mentioned before that was a weakness is now currently a strength. Everything that was bad about the team. We just kind of
stopped being bad at all of our. We were like, let's lock in, and now we're making all our threes, and we're playing really good defense. It's just pretty sick all around.
They turned every single weakness into a strength. I mentioned those double big lineups were not good. I showed you the stats about why they were so trash. Now I have this year's lineup stats to show you. When they have all four stars on the court, they have, unsurprisingly, an elite offense, 122 offensive rating, and then a 113 defensive rating to have an 8.8 net rating. That's pretty good.
What the heck? That's way better than last year. What the heck? What's going on?
But you would expect that to be the case when you have four all-star level guys on the court.
Yeah.
But when they have, outside of those four guys, they have settled into two star pairings. They play a lot of lineups with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley together. And then when those two guys sit, they play Darius Garland and Jared Allen together. They've really kind of divided their team into two sets of stars that both complement each other, which makes sense when you have two elite guards, two elite bigs. As you see on the screen, both of those lineup sets have over 10 net rating. They're utterly dominant. The Mitchell and Mobley lineups, they play this 5-out style because Evan Mobley can shoot threes now, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell plays his style of ball. They run teams off the court. And then when Garland and Allen play, and even better offensively, 131 offensive rating actually, they are so utterly versatile because of these two different lineup sets they run that, again, the weakness became the strength.
Yeah, it's kind of to talk about an embarrassment of riches. To have like this starting five where you have all of these good players and you're incredibly talented, and then you like your secondary unit that roll up, you just have two separate units that you could roll out and still be like one of the best teams in the league by net rating. It's ridiculous when you look at like some of the other teams in the league that are like struggling to field backup units in any regard. To be able to to be able to break your starting lineup into two separate lineups that you can then like stagger so that one is always fresh coming off the bench, ready to obliterate whoever is in front of them defensively. It's just this massive advantage that a lot of teams can't overcome. Like if you don't even have like a respectable bench unit, that's probably where the Cavs are going to start to blow you out. No matter how good your starters are, even if you can hang around for the first run of like starter versus starter basketball, once the second unit comes in, the Cavs can just outlast so many people. And I feel like that's a big driving force behind why they win so many games.
Yeah, it's an insane advantage to have 48 minutes of elite rim protection on your court. Look at the Nuggets. When Jokic sits, their backup center is geriatric. When Anthony Davis sits for the Lakers, they have Jackson Hayes out there trying his hardest. Not exactly a great situation to be in. A lot of teams are like this. The Cavs never have to worry about having a bad center on the court and never have to worry about having a bad point guard on the court.
And that's not even we haven't talked about Ty Jerome at all, which like is further down the list of like why they're succeeding. But to have it be like, oh, Donovan Mitchell's out tonight, we could still run the same shit. We could just have like Ty Jerome do all the pick and roll stuff or whatever, run the 2-man game. And it's not plus 10 or whatever, I'm sure, but it's still just like an incredibly productive lineup to run.
But here's the thing. We're talking about why they have this insane advantage of having 2-star guards, 2-star bigs, and how you can have crazy lineup versatility around that, especially when your wing play is so good as they have this year, with Dean Wade being a godsend. But all this was the case in past years too. They've always had this advantage. The biggest difference is, like we mentioned, when the two bigs are on the court, they're still being dominant. It's not taking a step back, which is the difference. What do you see that Kenny Atkinson changed that has kind of allowed these bigs to thrive so well together?
So like the big thing everyone's talking about, and you alluded to it already with Mobley hitting his threes now, is just Atkinson fully embraced Evan Mobley as like a perimeter unicorn level player. And that was kind of the key to unclogging the paint for everybody, was just like, even when the threes aren't falling necessarily, having Mobley use his skills as like a guy who can dribble really well for his size, a guy who's extremely agile for his size, having him embrace all of that to initiate as much offense as possible from the perimeter opens up the floor for everybody else. It opens up a ton of driving lanes for guys to either like catch a swing pass and dribble to the basket. It opens up the floor for Allen to be like a really dominant rebounder, really easy like put back guy. And then it also opens up the floor for like motion and cutting and really easy offense.
There you go. That's the key. Part of it is, yes, Evan Mobley is shooting 43% from three, which is a large number.
Oh, so, no, we'll just tack that on. It's whatever.
Casual.
It's fine. Yeah.
Casual. So it helps that he has straight up made a shooting leap, which is the biggest thing that last year we always talked about. When is that Evan Mobley shooting leap coming? That's why it can't work. So on the surface, he just did that. He just fixed that. And that kind of solves all. That would solve all under any coach. That would be helpful in any regard if Evan Mobley can step out and just give you the spacing that you lacked. The thing is, though, he didn't suddenly become Cam Johnson. He's not just camped out in the perimeter all the time, just being a stretch big. You mentioned other parts. He's dribbling really well. He's become a truly elite interior scorer, too. His strength has gotten better. His footwork has gotten better. He straight up finishes over people now in the post like a traditional power forward. He's dominant there. He shoots 74% at the rim, a lot more self-creation than last year.
And oh shit, this is one of the only I'm not on that nerd shit, guys. I don't really look at stats that much. No, but one of the only like stats that really jumped out to me about the volume of drives that he's taking is he has literally doubled his free throw attempts off of drives from all of last season. So he was at what? 30. He has more free throws through 36 games this season than he did through 50 games last year. And
that's
I think
insane.
That's a real testament to like old Mobley, the old me. I was scared of contact. I was avoiding. I was super long. I'm going around guys. New Mobley. Oh, Isaiah Hartenstein's right in front of me at the rim.
Who?
Pump fake, and I bump him, and I still get the and one and all that other shit. So yeah, the strength to add that much strength and then also take a shooting leap. It's genuinely insane. Like those two things do not coincide very often at all.
So Kenny Atkinson got lucky that Evan Mobley made a huge leap, but also Kenny Atkinson put in a very, very good new offensive system that has made it so some plays Evan Mobley can be in the perimeter doing the stuff we're talking about, but they can also have the traditional two big look that we talked about. And that's because the cutting. You mentioned it real quick. They are the best cutting team in the league. And Kenny Atkinson has had a lot of comments about this, where he has a strong belief in his system that spacing isn't just about staying in the corner, that strong cuts also lead to spacing effectively. And you see that in the numbers. They're third in the NBA in cut points scored per game at 12.9, and first in the NBA by a wide margin in points per possession on cuts. So the only teams that score more on cuts are the Nuggets and the Warriors, who are like historically amazing on cutting. Obviously, Steve Kerr's whole system is setting a lot of off-ball screens, using Steph Curry's gravity to dime people up. And Nikola Jokic is the single greatest cutting passer of all time.
Yeah.
So to be only behind those guys, behind Steph and the Nuggets, is elite company. And that's because they made a clear, concise effort to say, sure, sometimes people are going to leave you open in the paint. Every single time that happens, the whole team, we're going to be on a fucking string. We're going to have the same brain. We're all going to know what everybody is at the same time.
Hive mind, baby.
Hive
I know
mind,
what you're
hive
thinking.
Mind.
Yeah.
As soon as the help defense comes, you're going to cut. We're going to dime you up. And we've seen that be effective in so many ways. Darius Garland has become maybe one of the best interior passers in the league this year. The way him and Jared Allen have this whole... you said hive mind. We'll keep saying that. Every time Darius Garland gets past this guy and the guy from the corner comes to help and you think you'd have a clog paint, he looks like Steve Nash. He reaches around and gets a crazy dump-off pass to the big man that's waiting in the dunker spot, but they position him a little bit deeper in the dunker spot, like a deep mid-range guy, so there's room for him to get a full head of steam cutting. They just have a lot of creative offensive sets that utilize the fact that you have 2 7-footers that almost no team in the league has the ability to have guys down low that can contend with that length around the rim when the cut. It's just a really smart way to deploy really unique talent.
Yeah. And both of them are really good big man passers as well. We live in an age where like Jokic and Şengün and Sabonis and like Wembanyama to some extent, we live in an age where like we're kind of used to big guys being like insane offensive hubs and like picking apart defenses or whatever. And maybe Mobley and Allen aren't that caliber of passers, but you can put them into tough situations and they will make like really intelligent reads that like if you're a defense and you've already negated 2 advantages that Cleveland has created, and then you have Mobley catch it at the elbow and it's like, oh, Jared Allen is wide open for a dunk right now. I can't just like throw it down there or whatever. He'll make that pass 10 times out of 10. You are not baiting these guys into making like bad decisions or taking stupid shots. Everybody is really efficient with their touches.
100%. They have that like that big to big passing that was like a staple of like 80s and 90s basketball. They look like fucking Kevin McHale and Larry Bird out there throwing from the post to the next guy. But
those guys
they've
used to play
combined
for the Celtics, guys. You should look it
By
up.
the way.
I don't know if you know. Yeah.
But they combine that with also like hyper modern principles on top of the big to big shit. This team is a fucking 3-point shooting factory. The way they can generate a corner 3-point shot is insane. They use, because of everything we mentioned, they have 2 dynamic guards and 2 dynamic bigs. When they run a pick and roll, you have to throw 2 on the ball because you can't stay in front of Garland's shifty ass, and you obviously can't stay in front of Donovan Mitchell. So they're just like an automatic paint touch. And I mentioned the hive mind stuff in terms of the cutting. They also have that for relocating to the corner. Darius Garland has been the best off-ball shooter in the NBA this year because every time he passes the ball, he sprints to the other corner, and obviously the defense has to collapse because all the cutting going on, and the ball just somehow finds a way to swing itself back to the corner every time. And you know, if you're the best cutting team and you're the best corner 3 team, how do you contend with that as a defense? How do you stop both of those things?
Yeah. Like it's these things. It's all offense. Like everything is very connected. And so I think a lot of people, that's why like it frustrates me when people are like, well, threes ruin everything. Too many threes is so predictable. You know, a team's just going to try to take a 3. When you get a team like the Cavs who recognize that, you know, a layup is the best shot in basketball. And threes are really like efficiently shooting the 3-pointer, especially from the corner, is just an avenue for us to be able to get layups more easily. And so if you're spamming threes and everybody is pretty efficient at hitting them, a lot of teams like it's just like they just kind of settle for that. But the Cavs going above and beyond to be this incredible cutting team, I feel like it almost makes defenses paranoid a bit, where it's like sometimes when you know you're playing a great 3-point shooting team, you're comfortable getting out and contesting the 3-point line. But when you're playing the Cavs, you get out to the 3-point line and you see that the guy didn't take the shot or whatever, and you're like, oh man, somebody's probably dunking it right now. Like I need to get back and recover. And it just sends it's very easy to get the defense into like panic mode. And I feel like down the stretch of that Thunder game last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, even the Thunder's like legitimately all-time level defense did hit like a point where they were like scrambling around and looked really frazzled and weren't always making the correct decisions because everybody in Cleveland was just, I don't know, making smart, easy passes that led to great baskets.
Exactly. And this isn't, they didn't invent cutting. I'm not here to say they made up the idea of turning a cut into threes. I think Kenny Atkinson
with this one simple trick changed the NBA and it's cutting.
He saved basketball. But I think Kenny Atkinson has made it clear that when he was an assistant coach for those few years, that motherfucker was in the lab. He was studying. He was learning. He was coming back a whole new coach because he took bits and pieces from every good coach around the league and added it to his own bag. Mm-hmm. He took this out of Mike Malone's bag. The Nuggets have been so good because Jokic gets the ball, stands there real tall, somebody cuts, and either you're going to have to come out from the corner and help on the cut, or I'm going to dime him for a dunk. If you come in to help and I can't dunk, I'm throwing it to the corner. That's the Jokic game. I'm going to make the right pass, and you're going to have to pick your poison. He doesn't have a Jokic. So he said, our version of that, of making the perfect pass with a god-tier passer, is going to be, we're going to have a just nonstop ability to generate a paint touch because you have two big guys that are always going to be bigger than you, and you're always going to have to help somebody because you don't have two 7-footers yourself. And we're going to make those same decisions, and we're going to continue to use that same mindset, but do it from a team perspective. We're going to have everybody know to throw it to the corner. Everybody know to hit the cutter.
You brought up the Nuggets. I didn't want to bring them up because I feel like I'm always like, oh, when Jokic does this, they do that. But what Cleveland, they don't have Jokic, but they also don't have like a Michael Porter Jr. And I feel like that is something that you could point to in terms of like team construction, where it's like, it's not even that like people on the Cavs don't take dumb shots. People on the Cavs don't stop the ball. Like it is popping around until somebody is either dunking it, laying it up, or wide open on the 3-point line. It's incredible.
He said, we're going to make Jokic in the aggregate. We're going to money ball our way to it.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I wrote down for like what really changed, obviously there's some perimeter like roster stuff around the fringes, but it is really hard to overstate how good Garland has been and how important a healthy season of Darius Garland has been to making all of this function, especially when you talk about his interior passing. I felt like last year, because he lost weight, because he was afraid of contact, his floater and his mid-range and his finishing around the rim really suffered. And it was very easy for defenses to be like, okay, he's not going to do any of that. He's only got the dump off pass to Jared Allen left in his bag. That's the only thing left in his toolbox. But now that everything else has risen, like he's really good at shooting floaters. He's incredible in the mid range. He's really solid at like baiting guys into thinking he passed it and then getting the layup or whatever. Efficiency is up across the board in those regards. Now, when defenses are reacting to all of those shots, that's what opens up the passes to Allen to like get the dunks or the layups or whatever. So he's been incredible.
Darius Garland's a fucking godsend. Specifically, he's been a godsend in clutch. This team is also like, to beat 34-5, you one had to blow teams out a lot, but also you had to do what the Kings did a few years ago when they had that one glorious season where they were in the playoffs the first time. Just be dominant in the clutch and have the ability to win these close games. They have the best clutch guard duo in the NBA by far this year. Donovan Mitchell, first in clutch points for 75 possessions at 86% true shooting. Darius Garland, seventh at clutch points for 75 possessions, 76% true shooting. They have simply been demons that don't miss shots when it matters most. And I think since I put these numbers down, Garland's had a couple other games where he really clutched up. One of them is going to win Clutch Player of the Year. It's just a matter of which Cavs guard gets it, which one has a better second half of the season. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the whole Clutch Player of the Year thing, to me, it's either we get a season like De'Aaron Fox the first year it was there, where it was like he ran away with it because he was just spamming buzzer beaters, or it'll just like voters at the end of the season will be like, well, this guy had the most clutch points, so he's Clutch Player of the Year. Yeah,
it's definitely a spreadsheet award for sure. It's not interesting.
Yeah, but it's like the spirit of the award. It's just sick that they've been able to win games that way because you do need a fair bit of luck and just like really steady play. You have to avoid beating yourself a lot to get to this level of dominance and allow worse teams to like make the mistakes for them. And the Cavs have done that. They've done that really well. I think back to after they beat the Thunder, they played the Raptors the very next night, second night of a back-to-back where Donovan Mitchell didn't play. And Darius Garland went for 40 points and 9 assists.
Yep.
He, I think they went down double digits midway through the third quarter of that game. And Garland scored or assisted on like 28 of the Cavs' final 54 points. So even with Mitchell out, it's not like Garland is only successful off of Mitchell or anything. There's so many different situations that the Cavs can slide him into, and he's such a malleable offensive presence that, yeah, he can be off the ball, he can catch and shoot, and he can really punish defenses like that, but you can put the ball in his hands, and he will pick them apart as a playmaker as well. He's been so good.
Yeah, he's an amazing. He's a godsend. And it feels so good as somebody who is like a card-carrying member of Garland FC. I went through the mud last year defending him because he had that bad year. Look at us on top. Shout out Garland FC. We've been here. We're going to stay here.
It really is like insane. I was never like, he's cooked, he's done, his career is over. But I also didn't fully take into account how bad like the injury derailed everything and how bad losing all that weight made everything. And so I can only imagine how dumb the people who were all the way out on him feel at this point, where it's like, maybe, losing 15 pounds of muscle as like 150-pound guard. Maybe
that's such a small number.
Yeah, maybe that just kind of like messes things up as far as your ability to beat the best athletes on the planet. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously they've made a lot of big improvements. It's all a big surprise. You mentioned that. We did not see this coming. In my predictions before the season, I put them as a 4 seed. And it would have been 5th seed if Joel Embiid was healthy and the Thunder, the Sixers could have been like what we thought they'd be when they signed Paul George. I thought they'd be like a good team, but not anything amazing.
I don't even think 4th seed is disrespectful. Like looking at where we were at the beginning of the season, like that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to say I feel bad about it, but it's a surprise. They were just better than everybody thought, and they've earned to be, held in a high regard. So on that theme, I want to see where this ranks among the biggest surprises of the year right now for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank my top 5 biggest surprises of the NBA season, and you just react. Tell me what you think. Which one was a bigger surprise? How this list shapes out for you.
Okay.
Number 5, I have the Magic winning damn near every game despite not having both their star players.
That is a bigger surprise to me than the Cavs. There's a path forward where, like, if you told me that the Cavs were going to be this good, I could imagine things happening to make it that way. If you told me the Magic were going to be, it's going to be Jalen Suggs and like Goga Bitadze, Mo Wagner's going to get hurt. It's not just Paolo. It's not just Franz. It's the whole
Everybody's
roster.
out.
And they'll still be this good. Like they still won't fall in the standings. That is shocking to me. So I'll take the Magic.
They
over
had
the
the
Cavs
same
there.
negative divine intervention that the Pelicans had, except the Pelicans are like the fucking 15 seed now, and the Magic are just casually 4. They've somehow got it out the mud.
Yeah, and I was talking to someone about Giannis and like the MVP award and everything the other day, and I was like, it's got to be so frustrating as a Bucks fan to like get incredible seasons out of everybody. It's all coming together. You're seeing it really good, and then look up at the standings and be like, fuck. Cole Anthony is still like keeping them above us. Is that really what's happening right now?
They're just pissed. They're just so good.
Yeah.
Okay, I have them number 5. They're my 5th biggest surprise. Number 4, I have the Suns being breathtakingly mid. I don't want to spend much time. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I thought they'd be good. I thought Bud was the answer, and he simply is not. The team sucks.
We did low-key miss a report while we were doing this. Nick Richards got traded for Okogie in like 3 seconds. So maybe,
really?
Yeah. Maybe that'll right the ship. But so I will say that the Cavs were a bigger surprise than the Suns being mid. I feel like the Suns, I've never been a huge Bradley Beal guy. I didn't think they'd be able to do that much to fix some of the depth issues that they have. I really don't like Yusuf Nurkic playing a big role on my basketball team. And the Cavs
I don't like him playing any role on my basketball team.
Yeah, get his ass out of here. So yeah, Cavs a bigger surprise. The Suns didn't surprise me that much.
Okay. Number 3, I have Russell Westbrook being fantastic. The Nuggets reviving his career. It's a good surprise. I certainly didn't see it coming.
That is a bigger surprise to me than the Cavaliers. Just because, like, I don't know. It's really a testament to Westbrook adjusting his game, only doing the things that everybody knows he could do well, and then Jokic being so good that he opens all those opportunities up for him.
Yeah. Don't pretend you don't want to glaze Jokic right now. It's because Jokic is a perfect teammate, and he's the type of floor raiser that can get the most out of guys. He is exactly what Russell Westbrook needed.
Yeah, I mean, some might call that very valuable, you know? Some might call that like super valuable. I don't know. Other people provide value, I guess.
They might even throw like a 3-letter acronym on it to celebrate.
Yeah. Super valuable player. SVP, baby. There it is. There we go.
Okay, the number 2, I have the Rockets being the 2 seed. I thought they'd be a good team. I thought they'd make the play-in. I didn't think they'd be the second best team in a loaded conference.
That is a bigger surprise to me than the Cavs, just because even if you told me that the Rockets were going to be this good defensively in a vacuum, I would have assumed that other teams wouldn't have had the health issues that they've had, and so they would be a lower seed. I think if the Grizzlies have been 100% this year, especially if Luka and the Mavs had been 100% this year, probably higher seed than the Rockets.
I hear you. They are lucky for health. I don't care. I'm simply going to choose to believe it's because Amen Thompson is a god.
It's real. It's real, baby. Amen Thompson, 17 points per game as a starter. It's all real. You know, it's facts, dude.
And number 1, I have the Cavs being absolutely unstoppable. I understand they're supposed to be a good team, so it's not as surprising maybe. But nobody expects a team to go from like the 5 seed to a 70-win pace. This to me is by far the most surprising story of the year.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not the most surprising, it's top 3 for me, just because so many things have to go right for it to happen. It's not just Darius Garland gets healthy. It's not just Mobley takes a leap. It's both of those, and you get a new coach who installs a new offensive system, and you have one of the best benches in the league, and it's like career year from Karis LeVert, career year from Ty Jerome. Everybody's playing out of their minds. It's very surprising.
4.5 months ago, we were like, God, do they got to trade some of these young stars? Fuck. And now I'm like, are they going to win the goddamn finals?
Now I'm like, do I really know anything about basketball? Like, am I smart? Do I watch? Like, what is this, dude?
They're making me question reality and if I understand how the game works.
Yeah, it's surprising. It's shocking, to be honest.
Okay. But like that's a good transition. Let's move on to the next chapter of this video. So, can they win the finals? Should they be the favorites coming out of the East over the Celtics? Should they be the favorites over the Thunder? What do you think? And if not, what do they need to prove to you?
I am going to side with the Celtics until they're dead in the ground. It's just the reality of like what Boston has built and everything. And we've gotten burned by that with the Nuggets the year before, where it's like, are they going to be a dynasty? And then they get smoked in Game 7.
Yeah.
But I think for all of the naysayers of the Cavs who say they can't win, they're locked into being a playoff disappointment. I think way too many people are holding on too tightly to the Knicks series from a few years ago, where they just got out physicaled by Mitchell Robinson and like a solid but not great Knicks team. And the thing I would say to those people is we criticize that Cavs team way more than we should when you go look at how old everybody was that season, where it's like, Donovan Mitchell, 26, starting to be in his prime. It's like Mobley's 20 years old. Darius Garland's 21 years old. Jared Allen's 24 years old. They were a young team when that happened. They were a team where 2 years afterwards, that's where you see players take a playoff loss like that, internalize it, and use it to get much better at the factors that cost them the series. So I think they can beat the Celtics or the Thunder. I just think it would be a very uphill battle.
Yeah, obviously, you don't want to be the guy to say the Celtics are going to lose and then pies in your face because they're just as dominant as were the year before. Surprise, surprise. And also, there is the fact that we haven't seen a repeat championship winner in 5 years. And that doesn't actually have anything to do with the Celtics. It's just a funny stat. Yeah. And I think the reason for that is because we haven't seen a team be utterly dominant in like the super team way that we saw before in the past. So I also think the Celtics aren't Teflon. Every year we've thought the previous champion is Teflon, like you said with the Nuggets, and it comes out and they aren't because teams are fallible and you never know what can happen. I could see a world where the Celtics are in that same boat where despite the bias that comes with being a reigning champion, they're beatable. And if we're going to say they're beatable and they're not in that Warriors phase where you just can't see any team toppling them because they're so talented up to bottom, if they're not that, why don't the Cavs deserve to get the nod? They have a size advantage. They have something that's not going away. Sure, the Celtics can match up just fine, but that's a straight up strength they have.
And the Celtics could get hurt with the bigs as well. Horford is ancient. Porzingis is glass. I think like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are like very reliable guys too. Even if they regress, even if you don't get like a great shooting series from Mobley or something, they both do so many things well, and you can rely on them to be out there 100% of the time.
They're deeper. Yeah. They're pretty much just as well coached, even though Joe Mazzulla is awesome. Star power, they can go band for band.
The problem is they're not as insanely coached. Atkinson is in the fucking conference being like, God spoke to me last night and he said Xavier Tillman's getting the start, baby. You don't get that from Atkinson.
Yeah, Joe Mazzulla prays, stands up from his altar, sniffs a line of pre-workout, just goes to the team and just does the most maniac shit you've ever seen. Yeah. He's unstoppable.
Shoot me with this taser, Derek White. And Derek White's like, I don't want to, Joe. Can we just do sprints, please?
At halftime, he looks around the locker room, picks a player. He's like, punch me in the fucking face. We need it.
Shout out to Mazzulla, man.
So he's amazing. But they had the star power, the Cavs. Obviously, they don't have the top 6 player in the world in Tatum. Maybe that means something. It's hard to win a championship without that. But they have 3 players who are top 30. D. Mitch is top 15, whatever. He hasn't even had a great season, too. So I forgot about that part to mention earlier in the video. He's averaging 22.5 points per game because they're playing egalitarian, because they're not forcing everything through him. But he has another level he can get to. He hasn't played insanely. And if that happens at the right time, they'll have the firepower. They'll have the defensive talent. They'll have the line of versatility that makes the Celtics so hard to beat because they can do so many looks. The Cavs can do the same thing. They'll have the smart mind that you trust to make good decisions when it's needed. I don't know why we can't say that they have 50-50 chance of beating them. I don't know what the number is, but like they are a legitimate threat to the Celtics.
Yeah, I guess if I was if I'm being critical of Cleveland, you don't love Darius Garland on defense. Like it's a very clear point of attack for another elite offense, as opposed to Boston doesn't really have a guy like that. They don't really have someone that you look at them on defense and you're like, sweet, we can go at him. Sure, maybe when Peyton Pritchard's out there with the bench or whatever, or like Luke Cornett or something, you're fine attacking those guys. But as far as like the best 5, the closing 5 players, Boston doesn't have a defensive liability the same way that Garland can be at times. He tries hard and he's not garbage. Like he's not constantly disengaged or anything, but he is small. And so like if it comes down to that one thing, if the margins are this thin in a 7-game series and in the clutch, Boston just has a guy that they can continually score on, it would be tough for Cleveland. But I don't think it's a guarantee that it will come down to that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like there's biases fighting in my head. There's the bias to the reigning champion that you want to give them credit. Then there's also the bias that this team is so dominant, but we haven't seen it before. And I just feel like so many of these things that makes me doubt the Cavs are just like fallacies that have nothing to do with how dominant the team actually is. And if we give respect to what they've actually done, how much we think it can translate, how much we think we've seen that type of style work before, it just feels like they maybe should be the favorite.
Yeah. Only thing going on in my head is Jamal Murray 45 points against the Mavericks, baby. So the Nuggets, I mean, like, who's going to lose to the Nuggets is cool. It's fine, whatever. But yeah, I understand that feeling where it's like you're trying to balance all of the biases that you have into like an objective picture. And I don't know, really all you could do is take it a day at a time. We're so far from the playoffs as well that like
so inspirational. A day at a time. Put one analysis foot in front of the other and do the best work you can, one podcast at a time.
One podcast. Yeah. It's the hardest job in the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's just there's so much basketball left to play that like calling the shot from here, I don't even feel comfortable calling it in March. So, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff left to break down.
Yeah, it's just based on today. Obviously, everything will change. Maybe we'll come back and maybe they'll collapse and they will be a fraud. Who knows? But on this topic, let's do another game.
All right.
Let's kind of look at the top 6 or 7 teams in the Eastern Conference, including the Cavs, including the Celtics. And let's play a little contender or pretender. I'm going to say an NBA team. You tell me which category they fall into. Are they... All right. And we'll say this from the perspective of can they win the East?
Yeah.
Eastern Conference specific. Contender or pretender.
So if I call a good team a pretender It doesn't necessarily. I'm not calling them garbage, guys. Calm down.
Okay, first team. Boston Celtics, contender or pretender?
No, I'm just kidding. Contender. Yeah, I'll call them a contender. I mean, they're the reigning champs, even though they've been like 500 over the last 16 games or whatever. None of it matters to me. None of it matters. None of it's canon. This is all filler. By the time we get to the postseason, they'll be fucking firing on all cylinders, and they'll storm their way back to a second championship. I'm sure.
I'm not doubting them.
Yeah,
Okay.
contender.
The New York Knicks. Very up and down. A lot of really high highs, but some concerning lows.
Yeah, I'll say pretender, and I'll say
Ooh.
the path forward is there. I just don't think it's this year. And some of their players have gone on record saying that, like, you know, it's the first season. Things aren't going to like click into place automatically. And I just think an extra season of like everybody eliminating those lows, that's really the problem. Is like, I don't think if you play the Knicks 7 times, are they going to give you 5 elite games? I really worry about that. And so, yeah.
I just want you to know that there's going to be a whole cohort of Knicks fans storming your door saying, how the fuck can you doubt Bodega Cat and Jalen Brunson?
We outside. Bacon, egg, and cheese are banging on my door. Guys, I'm sorry.
A fucking Tim's flying through your window.
No.
But if you want to go pretender, we can do that. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
I will go contender here. I don't know. For all the stuff that we've said in this video, I feel like the Cavs, really good blend of offense and defense. I feel like most everybody that they consistently play, even on an off night, still gives you a lot of like really important contributions. And then I really believe in the extra gear that Donovan Mitchell has showcased. I don't need him to show me that every single night. I don't need 45 from him every week to believe in him being able to like go bar for bar with like, you know, Tatum or Brunson or whoever in the big moments of a playoff series.
I'm not gonna list my top 3 teams right now for fear of retribution from fan bases, but just know I'm thinking about putting the Cavs above the Celtics. I think it's not crazy. I truly believe this might be the best team in the East. We'll see how I feel in 3 months, but right now, I think we might see the Cavs represent the East in the finals.
Comment down below how you feel about recency bias, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it. Let's hear about it.
It's 39 games. I think I can be biased to 39 games.
Hey, let's get it.
Okay. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Pretender.
They can't win the East?
No. Shout out to Bobby Portis, though.
You can't see a world where everything goes right, where Lillard's clicking, where Giannis is the best player in any series. Well, if I could see a
world, I would have said yeah about the Knicks, too. I just feel like I do feel like the bench is pretty rough. I feel like Middleton is not going to be what you need him to be post double ankle surgery. And
nobody talked about that enough. Getting surgery on both ankles at the same time is crazy. When you just walk around and like just wheelchair it up.
There was another report where it was like, yeah, he could come back right now. It's just a pain management issue. So in my mind, he's like working out, just like, God, ow. And so they're like, Chris, you're not ready, man. Yeah.
Just building his psyche up, just dealing with it.
I love Giannis. I think nobody's going to want to play Giannis and Dame in a playoff series. It's just something you'd rather avoid. But I would firmly believe in the Celtics or Cavs, just team-to-team matchup.
Okay. The Pacers. One of the only teams that's beat the Cavs.
I mean, shit, dude. I mean, the Hawks have beat the Cavs twice. Are they on this list? Yeah, I'll call the Pacers pretenders. They're trending in the right direction. Lately, you know, Halliburton's had more Halliburton-esque games, and you mentioned it last night. Nembhard's just annoying as shit to deal with. Mathurin, everybody, like, they play a lot of very good players, but I don't know if the power of friendship... The Cavs have the power of friendship, too. Like, it's just a more talented version of that, it feels like. So I would go pretender for the Pacers.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I put them here because they're top 6, but we both agree. What about the Orlando Magic? You know, what if they get Paolo and Franz back? They're both playing at all-star level. Could they shock the world?
I'll be safe right now, and I will call them pretenders. I will say
coward.
If I like thinking about the version of this team that has Paolo and Franz, and like they get like 30 games out of everybody to really figure out what postseason basketball needs to look like for them, they would be nasty. They would be scary. I firmly believe
Next year they'll be contenders.
Next year's
give
the
them
year,
one
baby.
more season.
Oh my God. Yeah. Franz made the leap. Paolo made the leap. Everybody else can no one can score on them. And so that's what you like to see if you're like a playoff team. So I don't know.
Yeah. I just want to let it be known that you saying Franz is the whitest thing I've ever heard you say.
Franz, it's actually not. I mean, for me to have perfect German pronunciation would be way wider than mispronouncing something. I feel like it'd be wide.
Okay.
It'd be wider if the next time someone pronounces fucking it Hartenstein, I'd be like, it's Hartenstein. Actually,
It's Hartenstein.
It's Hartenstein. Come on, dude.
The most American Caucasian thing I've ever heard.
That Franz Wagner, he's pretty good at basketball.
That Franz guy is nice.
He's nice.
He's wicked good.
All right. Is that
Okay.
everybody? Is that all? Oh, wait. Who
Last one.
Who's next? Who's next?
The Philadelphia 76ers.
What a season from hell.
Wait, I gotta say, they just laughing.
Oh, man. Pretender. Shout out to Embiid. Shout out to the glory days, I suppose. Shout out to maybe Paul George has just been hurt this whole time. Maybe he's just been gritting it out through injury. Maybe he's not washed. I don't know.
Maybe he'll get better. Maybe he'll find the fountain of youth.
Maybe, guys. Maybe. Anything's possible. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. They're pretenders pretty firmly for me, though. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to see what you would say for them. I had no
I'll be
real
a
reason
dick.
to put them
They're
in this.
terrible. They're ass. They're below pretenders. They're impersonators. They're garbage, dude.
Last thing I want to talk about before we end this episode. Darius Garland was in the media, and they asked him if he thinks he deserves to be an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Most guys get asked that question. They're real diplomatic. They're real, I'm just going to leave it up to the voters and play my game every night. All this generic athlete speak.
The loser shit,
Yeah. Cowards. But he was like, yeah, I'm a fucking all-star. We deserve 4 on this team. So that was the discourse.
Yeah.
Do they deserve 4? We got to talk about it. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to build our Eastern Conference all-star teams. We're going to take turns picking a player one by one and see if we believe collectively that the Cavs deserve 4 all-stars.
Okay.
So we're going to do this like we did the top 10 list last episode. We're going to take turns picking spot by spot. So the starters is 2 backcourt players, 3 frontcourt players. The bench is 2 backcourt, 3 frontcourt, and 2 wild cards.
Okay.
We'll go one by one. We'll build our list. And let's go through the starters relatively quick.
All right.
Obviously, Giannis is a lock for the front court.
All right. Obviously, Jason Tatum is a lock for the front court.
I think because of New York PR, Karl Anthony Towns is also a lock for the front court.
Okay. I think that Donovan Mitchell is a lock for backcourt.
That's fair as a 1 seed. And then we'll go Jalen Brunson for the other one.
Yeah.
Starters are relatively easy. Now the bench. Who's your first guard off the bench?
First guard off the bench. I wrote down Cade Cunningham off the bench.
That's what I would do too. Cade is an absolute lock for me.
Yeah. He's been so sick. The Pistons have surged largely on his level of play, especially in the absence of Jaden Ivey. For them to not really fall off, even though you've lost your second best offensive player, that's crazy. And he's making the leap. I'll put Cade here pretty comfortably.
Yeah. The scoring boost is one thing, getting 25 points per game, but averaging nearly 10 assists a game and just being an absolute engine, he's a lock.
Mm-hmm.
Other guard, Damian Lillard. That's an easy one. He's going to be there. We don't even got to talk about it. Damian Lillard will absolutely be an all-star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm not the biggest Dame guy in the world as far as personally liking a player or liking watching them, but I think pretty inarguably one of the best guards in the East so far this season, and it's a no-brainer to have him here.
But who's the first? Okay, so who's the first front court player on the bench?
Evan Mobley. I feel extremely comfortable about that.
Me too.
Yeah, Evan Mobley.
At least 2 all-stars for this team.
Yeah. One would be insane. One would be we don't believe in it at all. You're the fakest team of all time. But Mobley is also, as far as coaches' selections, which that's what the bench is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mobley's a guy that coaches love. It's one thing if coaches will pick LaMelo Ball or somebody, but gritty, hard-nosed, smart defensive player, I think coaches will love Evan Mobley, and he'll be here very comfortably.
Okay, so second forward, I'm going to go Jaylen Brown. So I'm putting you on the spot. For the last forward spot, are you going another Cleveland Cavalier?
You know what? I think, yeah, fuck it. I'll do Jared Allen. I'll do Jared Allen. I love Jared Allen. I'm constantly on the Jared Allen is underrated train. So for there
It's
to
raining
be,
Cavs.
that's what I'm saying. For there to be like a lack of forwards in the East, which there absolutely is, between like Paolo not playing at all, Franz being hurt right now, a bunch of other stuff. I mean, Scotty Barnes barely playing this season. I think Allen, pillar of consistency for the Cavs last year, and he still didn't make it even with some injury replacement stuff. So I'm cool with him maintaining that level of play on a team that's on pace for 70 wins and getting the nod this season.
Yeah. If the Magic guys were healthy, this wouldn't be the case, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first wild card spot, I'll go LaMelo Ball. I'll give the guy averaging 30. Is it winning basketball right now? No, the team sucks. Not his fault. It's not him. Insert Theo Ash meme.
Hey,
I'll give
Justin
LaMelo Ball a
Herbert.
spot.
Trash, bro.
Damn, I'm a Chargers fan.
Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, my fault. He tried his best. I don't know what to say.
So where are we going with the last wild card spot? There's Trae
man.
Young. There's Garland. There's Scotty Barnes. Are you gonna give the Cavs their fourth spot that Darius Garland said they deserve?
Oh, brother. I'll give it to Garland. I'll have coaches rewarding winning. I like Trae.
Hey.
I think Trae is better. I like Trae more individually, even though I love Garland. I'm just so Trae pilled to the max. But, they're on pace to win so many games. The Hawks have kind of slid as of late. Yeah, I'll go Garland. Give him 4 All-Stars. Let's Hawks him up all the way.
You're totally Hawks pilled. Okay.
Yeah.
And listen, I think I might have said Trae Young, but I think even if that's the case, Garland or Trae gets the first injury replacement.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
They should both be there.
It's just tough to have so many great guards and then be like, who do we throw in this forward spot? Damn, dude.
All right, man. So listen, if you ask us, give us a chance to vote. The Cavs get their 4 All-Stars. You ask me, I might pick them at the finals. You ask me on the right day.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this is a very pro Cavs podcast. If people are still here, what should they comment?
They should tag ESPN and tell them to give us a media vote for all NBA. And so then, then we could actually get involved in this shit. I don't know.
And there you are. That's the end of the episode. We'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.
Peace.